from the video feed. So if I don't start it early, no one gets AGR. All right, started. Let's see.
And we're live. Quick, Jen, tell a joke. Quick. A joke, a funny joke.
Nintendo
Uh,
Direct. No, that's
Oh,
unfair. That's unfair. I should have just said Wii U. I'm
Ah,
happy they
yeah,
did a
that.
Direct. It was nice
that's
to see a
even.
Direct again.
Yeah, no, that was pretty good. I have to admit, Wii U would have been. I don't think it would have been unfair. It would
The
have
Wii
been
U had
mean,
some
but
good
not
stuff.
unfair.
It's
Had a
just there
very.
weren't enough people for it.
You know, I've actually been defending the Wii U. Well, not defending it. I'm not recommending anyone buy it. Buy
Especially
it.
not now.
Certainly not now. But I've been telling on my shows, however, how much I love the design of Nintendo's Wii U games. It's like finally they have an HD console that they can do things with, and I thought it was brilliant. Mario, the 3D Mario in particular, it was 3D World, I think. Um, I thought it was design wise amazing. So I love the Wii U. It's just it didn't sell. It didn't sell because
I
they
thought
didn't sell it well.
like Splatoon was really cool, and that almost sold me a Wii U because that looked like so much fun. I actually watched more
Yeah.
people like that was the only game I watched on Wii U on Twitch was people playing Splatoon. It was just really cool to watch all the new weapons and the different things people would do and how they use the maps, and it's just so fluid and fun. But there was no way to
I
make
could
that an esport because there was no tools for that. There was no system for that. There was no way Nintendo was going to figure this out.
No, absolutely not. But I can guarantee that Splatoon is going to see an NX release, either a port or an improved version of some description. It
Hope
was
so.
such a runaway success on the Wii U for the meager numbers of that console. I think they're going to capitalize on this and make it if and the Wii U might play. I mean, the NX might play Wii U games. I wouldn't be surprised if it was like, well, actually, the architecture is too crap. Is too different. So
Well,
maybe not.
it depends. I mean, it actually boils down to the kind of the game libraries and how many of the developers stuck to using strictly the Nintendo libraries. Because that's one of the things that helps smooth things over. If you just use the libraries that they give and only those, makes the transition a little easier. Because then you can create the same libraries for the different architecture, and there isn't too much you really need to do in the actual code. I'm sure Nintendo did a pretty good job on that, and since all most of the games are first party, it shouldn't
Well,
be
they
too
Yeah,
bad.
made
that's the
you
thing.
rebuy a lot of your virtual console things, though, didn't they?
Yeah, it's because that's a money grab. That isn't a hardware limitation.
I found that was really disappointing. It's like, oh, maybe I can move over. Oh, I can't move over anything. Okay, well, forget it.
Yeah, definitely that was a little bit frustrating. But the thing is, there's really like 5 games they need to port, and that's it. You know, the big ones, Splatoon. The other one, I mean, Splatoon they might port. The others, I think they're going to make brand new titles. There's going to be a Mario Kart, obviously Zelda, things like that. But yeah, should be. I think we should have information about the NX on this month in September, probably around Tokyo Game Show at some point, maybe a
Oh
little
my
bit
goodness,
after
it's
that.
September. This year's going by too fast.
I know.
You're telling me.
Oh,
Especially once you reach a certain age, everything seems like a roller coaster going downhill. But
Well, it
this is what
definitely speeds up, doesn't it?
well, so that's what I learned from a Peanuts cartoon. This is like once you get over the hill, you begin to pick up speed again. So I'm kind of cresting. I'm sure. just waiting for my just waiting for the speed to pick up. I
It's
need my red.
the way I understand it is that initially you've only lived like 5 years, so another year seems like an eternity because it's 20% of your lifetime. But if you've lived 40 years, another year is just a tiny amount of your lifetime, like 2.5%.
Well,
So,
you also have more experiences to compare and
mm,
context everything into. When you're younger, everything seems new or long or punishingly abnormally long because you have no context for anything, right? It's like the difference between, say, a 14-hour flight versus a 4-hour flight. If you've never been
Yeah.
on a plane before and you have to be on a plane for 4 hours, like, this is taking forever. Till you get on a plane and travel on the other side of the planet for 14 hours, then it's like, all right, 4 hours is nothing.
Fair enough.
It's the worst. I'm sure you've done that, right? Haven't you had to do like a 16, 14-hour flight,
Me?
Patrick? Yeah.
No, usually it's 11, 12, something like that when I have to get to LA or Tokyo. But that's pretty long already. I wouldn't want to do more than that. Actually, I don't really want to do that either. But
As I get older, my tolerance for sitting in a plane lessens. I don't know. I just don't like. I'm not sure if it's because airlines have changed and they've really tried to cram as many seats into the plane as possible, or I've just gotten to the point where I just like an old codger and I just like hate being uncomfortable and prodded and hurted and please stand here. Wait till your letter is announced and then you can board. It's like no.
there's definitely a sense of when you're getting a little bit older. For me, at least, I don't want to deal with all the crap. It's like I don't. Fine, I'll pay 20 extra dollars. Whatever. I'll just you know clearly, when you're young, you don't have money and you have time, and when you're older, you don't have time and you have a little bit more money. So, I think it. I'm will like for example, taking an Uber from the airport to my house, which would cost like 40 euros. I consider doing it sometimes now, but when I was younger, it would have been insanity to spend 40 euros on transportation when I could just take the metro and pay, or the train and pay 10. It's life, man. It changes.
It does.
We're super profound today.
Anything you want to add, Jen? Listen to a bunch of old guys.
No, I'm feeling a bit younger now. Thank you.
Oh, you got decades before you get to our level of cynicism and angst. Actually,
That's
no. I think the angst dissipates because there's an end to everything. Like, yeah, there's going to be an end.
the
Might
time I
not.
feel old is when I make movie references because I grew up with ancient videos compared to my age group because I used to watch old VHS tapes with my dad of these old comedies. And some of them are not that old. Airplane is not the oldest movie in the
No,
world.
that isn't. That came out what in the
But
late
people in my
'70s.
age group don't know that movie. Naked Gun, they have a better shot at. Airplane is just too old for them. And it's like, oh man, you guys have to watch this
The
movie.
the worst one is when someone told me, yeah, we were talking about Back to the Future, and one of our younger coworkers came by and said, "Oh yeah, that movie's a classic." It's like a classic. What is this on like Turner Movie Network? Really? I watched that when I was in grade school. I remember going with my cousins and standing in line to go to the theater. That's when there weren't really that many multiplexes. Like the theater only had one large screen, and that's the movie you saw.
Yeah.
Ah, kids today.
The good old days
Kid.
of 20 years ago.
Like my kid's not gonna know any like. You might be too young, and I don't know if they did this in France, but we used to have film strip movies with that had an audio cassette. So it wasn't a full projector movie, but it was basically a slideshow with an audio cue that would uh, tell the machine to advance to the next slide. And that's how we watched a lot of stuff. Or we would watch like um, social studies video or not videos, films from like the 1970s talking about the Great California Watershed. And it's all like sepia toned and the film is all scratchy. And they wheel out this old projector from 1968 and it's you're sitting there bored because your classroom used to be the woodshop class. So we would have all the equipment, but we couldn't do anything. Like they would have not presses, but vices. They would have the drill press, a bunch of other things, all the equipment. But back in the early '80s, I think they cut a lot of the funding for that because they thought that kids should go to college, university instead of learning something useful like wood shop, metal
Yeah.
shop.
All of my French textbooks in elementary school were so old. They were talking about the discotheque, which was very relevant to my life at no point. And bell bottoms were everywhere. It's like, okay, guys, you might need to update these at some point.
Did they
I
still call
think
them that?
No, nobody
um
calls them that.
no, not anymore. No. It I think when I was very young, there used to be like uh they used to be called discotheques by older people who are probably younger than I am now, who were younger than I am now. But yeah, discotheque, no one really says that. Definitely not now.
All right, I am going to hide since time is
Okay.
here, and then yeah, I'll let you two guys have a great show. And I'm recording audio, so you just need to do your bit, and we are good.
Excellent. All right. So I guess we're going to start. In three, two. The Daily Tech News Show is powered by its audience, not outside organizations. To find out, all right, I'll do it again because the first sentence you don't want to mess up. Sorry, chat room. Starting really well. All right, let's do it again. The Daily Tech News Show is powered by its audience, not outside organizations. To find out more, head to dailytechnewsshow.com/support. This is the Daily Tech News Show for Thursday, September 1st, 2016. I'm Patrick Beja, in for Tom, whom I believe is currently in South Korea. We are joined today by Jen Cutter, whom I understand is a professional producer and professional awesome person. How's it going, Jen?
It's going quite well, thank you. That is my favorite intro. I'm gonna like just cut that out and just play it whenever I go into a room. Professional, awesome person. Everyone will
I
know.
think, yeah. I think that's a pretty apt description. So thanks for being on with us. A little bit later, we're going to be talking about YouTube basically exploding with yet another controversy. That must mean it's Thursday. But first, a few headlines, and before that, information that in response to a recent EU ruling telling Ireland to claim $14.5 billion plus interest in back taxes from Apple, CEO Tim Cook said it's total political crap. Cook said of the EU's ruling to the Irish news publication Independent, no one did anything wrong here. They just picked a number from I don't know where, Cook explained. In the year that the commission says we paid that tax figure, we actually paid $400 million. We believe that makes us the highest taxpayer in Ireland that year. And now, here are more top stories with this little stinger. Reuters reports Samsung has delayed shipments of Galaxy Note 7 after reports of devices catching fire. South Korean media have said Samsung will announce a recall of all its new Galaxy Note 7 devices sold. Company officials speaking to Yonhap said they estimate that less than 0.1% of Galaxy Note 7 devices sold were affected, and the root problem was traced back to the battery. Delays on rollout has cut $7 billion off of Samsung's market value. Ouch! $7 billion.
That's billion with a B, right?
That's how it's written. So
Wow.
that's how I understand it. I mean, these kinds of issues happen every now and then, but that seems like a harsh cut into the market value. I'm wondering if it's not even, linked to Apple's announcement being next week. This is their new flagship product, the Galaxy Note 7. I mean, one of them.
Hmm.
Maybe that plays into it a little bit.
I'm glad Samsung is doing this. You always want them to do the recall first and not after somebody gets hurt or somebody's on a plane and something goes terribly wrong. Do it first, take the PR hit, and rebuild.
Yeah, absolutely. They're doing the right thing there. So that's kind of it makes it sad that they lost so much money in their stocks. But All right, Lenovo unveiled a new laptop tablet hybrid, the Yoga Book. The Yoga Book features a clamshell hinge design with a 10.1-inch full HD touchscreen on the top half and a Wacom style digitizing pad called the Create Pad that doubles as backlit keyboard on the lower half. A bundled stylus called Real Pen features 2048 pressure levels and angle detection. The 1.5 pounds, that's 680 grams for those of us who don't use those weird space numbers. The 1.5-pound machine is powered by an Intel Atom X5 processor and will come in both Windows 10 and Android versions. Prices start at $399 for the Android version and $499 for the Windows 10 version. Did you see this one? It's one of the first time I saw a laptop tablet hybrid and thought there was something really new in that space.
I'm excited for this. I am that crazy person that writes everything down. I have tons of whiteboards and notebooks and pads of paper everywhere just out of camera shot. So this kind of thing is exactly what I'm looking for. I want something that I can write on, I can carry around, and isn't several $1,000s because as much as I love the Surface, it is not in my budget.
And it does some really interesting things. I mean, it's a centimeter thick, more or less. And I'm not sure if it's made very clear when you just hear the description like this, but you have the touch screen, and on that weird create, how do they call it? Create pad, you can either touch and there's a keyboard, or you can actually write on it, or you can use a piece of paper on which you will write, and it actually digitizes what you're writing and does some OCR, obviously. So it seems, if it works as advertised, I think it's really interesting.
That's the feature that will sell it to me. That's the one I'm going to be watching all the reviews for. And if it works as advertised, I don't know which version I'd go for, whether I'll go for full Windows 10 or take my chances with the Android one. But fingers crossed that this actually works as promised.
Yeah, here's to hoping. At the IFA conference in Berlin, Qualcomm unveiled a new Snapdragon VR 820-based standalone VR headset. It features eye tracking with 2 cameras, dual front-facing cameras for inside-out positional tracking, and 4 microphones. The headset is a reference design for OEMs, so don't expect to get it this Christmas. But it's not the first one that does eye tracking, but it's certainly one of the more intriguing features I've seen for a VR headset. Any idea what it can be used for, eye tracking in a VR headset?
Uh, well, eye tracking right now you can get as a standalone thing, and I am that person who has a lot of racing wheels and sets. And eye tracking is very useful for like when you want to check rear view mirrors, your eye tracking software will take care of that for you and show you the appropriate angle out of your car. To see that in VR would also be interesting. But I just want to skip ahead 5 years. Tell me who wins the VR headset war, and I'll buy that one. I don't want to have to pick and choose now. I'm going to wait and see. And I feel like I say that every time I'm on this show because there's always a new VR thing coming out.
All right. I like your approach as well. I think, yeah, let's skip to 5 years from now. That would be the right solution. The Wall Street Journal reports Facebook is pushing advertisers to speed up their mobile websites. The company offered a slew of suggestions, including compressing files, minimizing landing page redirects, and removing render blocking JavaScript. Facebook would also start prefetching ad websites, limit where ads appear if they direct users to a slow loading site, and encourage user of Facebook encourage uses of Facebook's mobile optimized publishing tools like Canvas and Pages.
Huh.
So this one is really interesting to me because usually we've seen in the past Google change, have some kind of almost policy changes to their algorithm and what they prioritize there, and that shapes the entire web to an extent. And now that we've seen an example of this just last week, I believe. But now we're seeing Facebook potentially doing this as well.
I am not surprised that Facebook is pushing people in this kind of direction. I'm a little surprised that they're kind of targeting advertisers with this, because it sounds a little ominous kind of threatening. It's like, okay, if your ads are slow, you're not going to get to see them, so I guess you better use our ad service if you want people to see them.
I guess, yeah, the fact that they have their own services. But on the other hand, I think we all want, the web to be faster, and those websites that we all know that are incredibly heavy, that have ad overlays, and that shower you with ads that overtake your screen before you can read the thing. It's a bad experience for everyone. Without getting not getting into the debate of whether or not we need ads and that whole thing. I'm kind of glad that those big corporations, however evil they are helping us force the web in, I think, what everyone would admit is a good direction. Maybe I'm too naive.
I'm a little scared about this kind of stuff. I agree that the end goal of having a faster internet for everybody is the direction we want to go in, but I think how we get there is going to be important because we might lose some things along the way.
I mean, yes, ideally, I would like it not to be Google and Facebook that push in that direction. That I
I know, I
agree.
think
But
we're a little late on that one.
yeah. All right. Ars Technica reports AT&T's Vice President of Federal Regulatory, Joan Marsh, published a blog post directed at Google titled "Broadband Investment Not for the Faint of Heart." The article takes jabs at Google Fiber's recent troubles, suggesting the company is in over its head and benefits from loosened regulations. Quote, "It will also no doubt continue to seek favoritism from government at every level. Just last week, Google Fiber threatened the Nashville City Council that it would stop its fiber build if an ordinance Google Fiber drafted wasn't passed." End quote. Although Google Fiber hasn't commented on the post, Ars Technica notes that the fiber's problem in Nashville stems from AT&T's reluctance to allow it direct access to their utility poles.
Yes, there's another quote in that article I want to read out because it's
Oh, please
amazing.
do.
At the end of that post, AT&T notes, "Welcome to the broadband network business, Google Fiber. We'll be watching your next move from our rearview mirror. Oh, and pardon our dust." That's a little aggressive from a major corporation to
A,
another major corporation.
a
It's not
little?
even subtle.
That is the most. Can I say Jack Donkey? It's the most Jack Donkey thing I've ever read. Maybe not, but I mean, it's certainly shocking for me. It's very aggressive. I mean, another quote is, "Google Fiber will no doubt continue its broadband experiments while coming up with excuses for its shortcomings and learning curves." What is happening? Who is
with
this person? Who
with
gave
what
him
AT&T
a
spends
blog?
on lobbying and protectionism, I don't really feel they have a leg to stand on here.
It is pretty outrageous, and it's very rare that I'm going to read corporate communication that is actually going to anger me on the almost on the form. If they had said this a different way, I think I would have understood the corporate communication. But the form of it is almost as bad as I guess the substance is to be expected. They're just saying, "Oh, we're cool, and you're the new kid. You think you can play with the big boys, but really you can't. And look what you've done. Ha ha ha." Okay, that's super mature, AT&T. But the form is outrageous. I don't. It's bully. It's trollish. I don't understand who that person is. I sure hope they get called into the principal's office. And finally, Facebook rolled out a new live video mode to Messenger called Instant Video. When Facebook Messenger is launched in Android or iOS and a conversation started, the app will offer the option to add live video to chat. Users simply tap the video icon in the upper right-hand corner. The video can be turned into a full video call when the person on the receiving end hits the green video icon that shows up. So basically, video chatting in Facebook Messenger.
Okay, so it's FaceTime in Messenger with the usual chat. which obviously will work on like the phone and I guess on the PC as well? Or is it just I know it says iOS Android.
Yeah, I guess every messenger app now has video calling as well. Do you remember when we were afraid? Well, not us, but the telecommunications industry was afraid that all of those data packets were going to replace phone calls. I'm going to be a little bit cheeky and say, does anyone actually use a phone service for phone calls? Doesn't everyone use like FaceTime or Hangouts or? Yeah, of course we all do. I'm just saying it's common now.
Well, they just want to keep it in their wheelhouse, even though now WhatsApp is kind of theirs, and I'm deleting WhatsApp because now they're sharing with Facebook, and I don't use Facebook stuff, so none of this applies to me.
Oh, you're one of those
I'm
people.
one of those. My
The
friends are
people
very,
who
very annoyed with
actually
me,
the people who actually care about their privacy.
or
They're
try
they're
to.
so annoying, those people.
I'm losing this game on a daily basis.
All right. Thank you very much to Kim Chigi, Abetuela Condolci, and all of those who participate in our subreddit. Submit stories and vote on them at dailytechnewsshow.reddit.com. And that's a look at the headlines. And we wanted to talk a little bit more about that thing that's happening on YouTube now. Well, now I say as if it's like this month. It's really this day. I don't think it's going to last for too much longer. I don't think the scandal is gonna be a long-winded one, but it is pretty intense, and I think it's important to understand what's happening there. So basically, at the basics is a game of he said, I guess they said for the creators and it said for the corporation. The creators are saying that Facebook, that YouTube is basically censoring them by removing advertisement from their videos that it deems are inappropriate. And the way they define inappropriate is a little bit stringent, I guess, but it's if it covers controversial stories, if it has vulgarity, sexual content, these kinds of things, and what YouTube says on the other end is that they're not actually changing their policy and they're not censoring anyone. They are just making more clear and notifying creators of a policy that is already in place, which says that if their video doesn't follow certain guidelines, such as the ones we've described before, they will cut advertising from those videos. They will not be monetizable. And this has created a huge storm of discontent from some YouTubers, with some others giving a somewhat more nuanced opinion, I guess. This is a very basic overview of what's happening. I'm sure you have an opinion on this, Jen. This is okay. What do you think?
I think the word censorship has been used too many times. It's starting to lose meaning. No one is stopping people from posting the videos they like. It is simply changing how they are able to make money from them. Now, for some people, they consider it a form of censorship because they are only able to produce those videos thanks to the revenue they've previously been making. When you are relying on this third-party ecosystem that you do not control for your revenue, you are always going to be at the mercy and whims of these outside corporations. And that's when things get really tricky because you need more than one revenue stream. If you are relying entirely on, say, AdWords, AdWords can ban you, and you have no real right of appeal because you'll appeal, you'll hit send, that appeal will be denied immediately, and then you don't really feel like you appealed because you didn't. It's just YouTube pretends to hear you, and it's very hard to feel valued or heard in that kind of sense, which is why these outcries happen with YouTube all of the time, because this is the only way for people to get a response, is they have to do these huge dramatic Twitter screaming and all these videos about how their channel is being shut down and how it's the end of the world. And I feel bad for everyone who's been terribly affected by this, and that this is the only way to talk to YouTube.
It's to sort of put things out of proportion, maybe even a little bit out of context to an extent. I agree that talking about censorship, I mean, if anything, you can still keep using the service. Your video is available and YouTube is paying for the hosting. But yeah, of course, if you're not going to be making money from that kind of content, it is hampering your ability to continue producing it. However, I do have an issue with the amount of explosion. Like Philip DeFranco is a YouTube creator. Oh, I guess we should mention obligatory. Tom's wife works for YouTube. That's disclaimer done. But Philip DeFranco is a really big creator on YouTube, and his video, the way he has a video where about a third of it is explaining that issue in his terms, which goes more towards the censorship view of it. The title of the video is "YouTube is shutting down my channel and I'm not sure what to do." Oh, and by the way, that video is monetized. The ad played when I went to watch it. I mean, come on, really? Are we? Is that? I suspect that the kind of people that do these kinds of inflammatory titles are also the kind of people that benefit from having YouTube not super, I'm going to exaggerate a little bit, not super squeaky clean, because they are probably people that that like to swear a little bit on their videos, and that's great. I love swearing here. You know, I don't have anything about swearing, but it feels so entitled. It feels really entitled to me. And the blog post by Freddie Wong that you linked us to. Freddie Wong is also a very well-known creator. He's been doing it for a long time. He has a much more nuanced opinion, and he points out the fact that really advertisers should have the right to decide which videos they're going to be associated with and which creators they're going to be associated with. And a creator that says, oh no, my video should be ad monetized, like demanding that their video contains ads, feels, I mean, I don't even know what to say to that. It's like, you produce great content. Okay, awesome for you. But it's your job to convince an advertiser to advertise on your channel. It's not an automatic, like you put something on YouTube and automatically you get the right to have videos in front of it. Am I missing something?
No, YouTube has made it very easy for people to get access to these advertisers that they would not ordinarily have. Nothing is stopping the people who've had their videos demonetized from reaching out to advertisers and creating their own deals and running their own inline ads, for which they'd make much more money because then YouTube does not get a cut and ad block wouldn't affect them. But I will admit that 99% of the people affected by this may not have the skills to reach out to the advertisers and make those connections or have the business sense to make this happen. But on the flip side, YouTube does not owe you a living. Unless you're in YouTube Red. YouTube Red is a different thing and is ad-free and still not available in Canada, so I can't speak much more about that.
But so, okay, I'm going to take the other side of that argument. I'm going to try for just a second. I've also seen a few people make the argument that the description of the guidelines, the things that you shouldn't talk about, are so wide and so far reaching that it could apply to all, not everything, but basically if it's not a Disney video like thing, and by that I mean very conservative and very family friendly, then it could fall in that category. And it's basically, if you talk about news, about things that are happening in the world, you could be, you could end up into that category. Mm-hmm. And the people I've listened to were making the valid argument that they don't think CNN is going to fall under that category. They're not going to get their videos demonetized. Big outlets aren't going to get their videos demonetized. This is going to target the small, one might even argue, independent media. Mm-hmm. I don't think YouTube has it in for the independent media, but it's not going to target the big guys. So is that a case of like different rules for different people?
YouTube has always had different rules for different people. I agree with you completely. YouTube's lawyers are amazing in terms of making these very broadly specific rules that can be interpreted in any possible way. Uh, I wish I had the link in front of me. I think I lost it. But there were people who were talking about how their makeup videos, when they were discussing acne products, were no longer monetized. Was that considered graphic content? What was advertiser unfriendly about that? You'd think beauty products would be all over that. Was it a mistake in the algorithm? We're never going to know because YouTube does not communicate with anybody. They've only been giving statements directly to representatives, to people who have partnerships. They haven't made any public statements. There's no way for lay people to find out. And if you're a small channel without this partnership, you are never going to know.
Mm. So yeah, it's. I think that what that spells out is we need a serious YouTube competitor, and it's not. It's still not happening. And no matter how much the creators on YouTube complain, I don't think they're gonna they're gonna stop using it because there's no one else. All right, last question. How likely do you think that this is a bid from YouTube to clean up the platform, and not to get rid of everybody, but maybe to get rid of the more controversial, maybe, yeah, I guess controversial people or videos if they want to?
Well, it's a weird thing to clean up the platform because nobody's forced to watch YouTube. People watch the videos they want to watch, the things that they're subscribed to, the things in their related videos. YouTube can bury the people they don't like and just not show them in the algorithm, which they've been accused of doing in the past. I don't know
Yeah.
what they really gain from this kind of move, except I guess less of a headache from advertisers. This is just the path of least resistance to make advertisers happy, and then they'll just wait for this to blow over in social media.
Mm. I really think ultimately, I mean, obviously we might all be wrong, but ultimately, you know who pays the bills? The advertisers. And that policy already existed. What I'm guessing has happened is somehow they refined the algorithm or included something in the algorithm and automatized the notifications, and so that they get their what they're tightening up is their ability to tell advertisers, don't worry, your ad will not go in front of some crazy bear beheading someone video. It's a tool for them to reassure advertisers and to bring in more ad revenue, which ultimately that's what they want, and that's who pays the bills. So when you don't know what's happening, I guess follow the money is the right thing to do, and that's what follow the money tells me. So that's where I would put my money if I was a
Yeah.
betting man.
I think
And
that's why they're
there was a
so
bet.
terrible at allowing fair use to be used fairly.
Terrible at allowing fair use to be used fairly. That is an awesome quote. All right, let's move on to our message of the day. Paul France takes issue with our suggestion that Apple's new 2 terabyte cloud service is too pricey in yesterday's show. He writes, I am not sure what you are talking about when it comes to cloud storage pricing. Apple is in line with both Google and Dropbox's offers. That is $9.99 per month for 1 terabyte of storage. Apple seems to be the only one of those three that offers a 2 terabyte plan. And to be fair, Microsoft offers 1 terabyte for $6.99, which includes Office 365. But again, they do not offer a 2 terabyte plan. So Scott yesterday said something to the effect of, oh yeah, Apple, they're obviously more expensive in the cloud storage space. And I think, Paul, dear Paul Friends who wrote in, I think you're not the only person who let Scott know that he was inaccurate. This was an inaccurate representation of Apple's offering. To put it clearly, yes, Scott realized very soon after having said that it wasn't true, and people will never let him forget about it. So our apologies for that mistake, but it has been duly corrected. Thank you, Paul France. And that is it for our show. Wow, it went by so fast. Thanks so much for being on, Jen. Could you please tell us where we can find what you do on the internet or elsewhere?
The best place to find me would be on Twitter at Jen Cutter, JenCutter, and that is where I hope to very soon be actually finally talking about all the neat stuff I've been working on this summer.
Ooh, the secret things you can't
The
talk about that
secrets.
you told me you couldn't talk about. Very exciting. Thank you very much for being on. Of course, you remember that the show is powered by you, the listener, and that happens at dailytechnewsshow.com/support. One way to do that is through Patreon at patreon.com/DTNS, but there are many other ways. And if you want to find out about those, you can go, as I said, to dailytechnewsshow.com/support. And if you want just the headlines of the day, remember that there is a less than 10 minutes show every day, which you can subscribe to. It's the Daily Tech Headlines show at dailytechheadlines.com. Our email address is feedback@dailytechnewsshow.com. Catch the show live Monday through Friday at 4:30 p.m. Eastern at alphageekradio.com and diamondclub.tv, and visit our website, dailytechnewsshow.com. And tomorrow, Scott will be here again, and he will be with Ars Technica's Annalie Newitz. And with that, I'm going to play the opening theme. No, I'm going to play the outro from Frog Pants, which is not the old one. It's the new one. Hooray.
This show is part of the Frog Pants Network. Get more at frogpants.com.
Diamond Club hopes you have enjoyed this program.
It worked. Excellent.
Success.
Cool.
Great job.
Great
Thank
discussion. Very informative, very engaging.
Yeah, you liked it?
I would buy YouTube stock now. I couldn't afford it even if I wanted to. It's all tied up in peanuts. No, it was a great topic. I think you guys did really well, especially because both of you are creators. You're in that position where you can really kind of put a personal viewpoint on it, which is great.
Cool. Excellent.
Yes, I'm not bitter at all. I don't miss my AdWords account. I miss that money though.
Yeah, I know. It's really tough. And that's the thing. Once you attach yourself to those platforms, really, because you can't really control it, and so it's hard. It's really hard to figure out what the best method. I mean, do you do multiple platforms? Do you try to be as ad as possible and make your content portable enough that if something does happen, you can move to something else? But then it brings up the question of how do you keep your audience? Because audience transition, and this is the thing I learned at Revision 3, audience transition, carrying them over from one platform to another is the hardest thing. To ensure that you have that same engaged group follow you over. And that's the thing, is at the same time, it's a double-edged sword. Being on a platform that self-promotes, that is popular, is great because it brings people in, but at the same time, it also makes them a lot more, I don't want to say capricious, but they're definitely going to be looking out for number one, which is them. And so what they or may or may not do, depending on the circumstances, can adversely affect everyone else down the line. It's crazy. It's crazy. I don't know how you two do it. I don't know how you guys do it.
We have awesome listeners. That's how you guys do it.
Actually, I will say Patreon is actually really good.
I'm considering it for a series that I'm doing later on. Just because I hate having ads in front of videos. I would rather have it available for everybody on every platform, because if you have ads in front, sometimes you're limited on who can watch what on mobile. Screw it. I want everyone to be able to see it.
Well, speaking of seeing things, let's see what see, like that segue. Let's
Very
see
nice.
what the titles are.
Very agile.
Top is Note and Catch Fire, which is a spin on the TV show,
Yeah.
*Halt and Catch Fire*. AT and Troll. AT and Troll. It said like AT&T and then roll. Fiber with AT&T Tutude. No more
Attitude. Attitude.
Attitude. Total political crap. Do Google's content guidelines add up? Get it? They're
Ooh.
doing that. It's very
Ooh.
good. Good job, Dark Redeemer. No more pennies for your thoughts. I see you. Sworn entitlement. Video killed the messenger star. Oh, everyone loves that. Entitlement stands versus.
Advertitlement.
Man, when I
That's
need
not
to
bad.
name something, I'm coming back to this chat room and calling all you guys.
Wait. Advertitlement. That's a pretty funny one. I like that
Yeah.
one. I'm voting for that one. Did I vote for it? Yeah.
Oh, look, it's shot up to first place now.
So
I
we'll
think,
let it coast there for a few seconds. Oh
I think
man, my shoulder.
advertitlement works.
Yeah, it's crazy. So
Blew up the
there's
charts.
like I'm trying to figure out was it that one video that I guess it was that one video that he did. I was going over Philip DeFranco's thing and I was wondering if they were just blocking him for that one video or is it just blocking him like a bunch of his videos?
Oh, they hit a whole bunch of his.
Okay. So
But he's such a. I mean, I haven't seen a lot of what he does, but what I've seen, he's a very angry teenager type with a little bit of brains. But he's sort of, he has. How do I put this and not sound angry myself? He does a kind of video that
inflammatory.
thrives on controversy. Yeah. Not controversy, but inflammatory.
Yeah, he's a Morton Downey Jr. / who shock jock guy. What's his name? He did a movie about himself. Oh, I can't. Who?
Howard Stern?
Yes.
Right. You said movie. I figured that's who you meant.
Yeah, it's like.
But like everyone's focusing on him, and it's the smaller people I'm worried about who are just doing general topics or who are doing the smaller investigative pieces who are so screwed.
It's really hard because you can't. It's really hard to apply an algorithm to anything that automatically just says flags this as inappropriate, because as we've seen, even people tend to fall into that trap of, well, oh, you're talking about boobs, even though it's about breast cancer awareness, and they flag. It's like, wait a minute, there needs to be an intelligent system, but at the same time,
Tumblr just did this, where they decided that anyone who mentioned anything about lesbians was automatically porn. And so all of these kids dealing with their sexuality are like, wait, we're not porn, we're just existing. What just happened? So that backlash was going on in that quiet corner of the internet.
And I think what happening right now is a dovetailing of what the communications technology has broadened out and allowed people to do, coming into an abrupt collision course with whatever community social values that people have. And I foresee it being a bigger issue, continuing to be a bigger issue, because we can all agree ultimately it's not a technology issue. It's a social issue that that people are coming up against, but it comes within the context or framework of a YouTube video. So people think, well, you just flag this, and I won't want that particular thing attached to my name. And it's weird because you also deal with situations where people who are trying to proactively make progressive change, for example, when it comes to the whole thing with North Carolina and their gender only, or like whatever gender you were born with, bathrooms, right? You can't, whatever people are post or pre change. And a lot of people put pressure on advertisers and companies not to do business with that state in order to force them to change, and that could be a very positive step. But at the same time, you can very quickly turn that around into something. Well, you're going to talk something bad about this particular person who's very well loved, even though he was embezzling, millions of dollars and threw orphans and grannies, down a flight of stairs on a regular basis. It's hard.
I think ultimately, what we're getting at is exactly what Freddie Wong was saying, which is it's not about censorship. We should talk about the real issue, which is how are those guidelines decided? How are they applied? How does that part work? That's the really important part.
It took
The
like a
whether
year of screaming to get the strike rules changed. And
Mm.
I hate that it takes this kind of outcry to get any kind of response. But
Yeah.
at least those rules got changed, and now whenever a video is disputed in terms of content ID, YouTube's holding on to that and then giving it back to you later instead of just keeping your money.
Yeah.
That took how many years for them to figure that one out? So I'm hoping that they're going to get faster at this.
Yeah, hopefully. Roger, I'm
You need to
uploading the
video or
MP3.
audio. Cool.
Um,
Let me
and I
stop.
think advertisement worked, right?
Yep, I'm
Oh,
doing that. All right, everyone on AGR, I'm going off the air. Thank you for listening, and see you
thank
tomorrow.
you. We love you. Bye.
All right, and then I can stop the broadcast. Stop and
Mhm.
broadcast. Thank you for watching. Support the show. Love you on Patreon. See you tomorrow.